Hey everybody, it's your girl Bunny. To all of my returning subscribers, hey, how you doing? And for those of you who are new to the channel, welcome. Kick your feet up, subscribe to this family-friendly channel, and don't forget to click the notification bell so you don't miss any posts. Also follow me on Instagram at the same profile name so you don't miss the sneak peeks of what's coming up next. In this video, it's Queen Sugar, Season 5, Episode 9, entitled, In Summertime to Simply Be. I give a recap of the entire episode with photos offset to the side, and then I give my review at the end. No need to dig around. I have all of the minute marks in the comments. It's all coming up next. It's a relaxed day in the Bordelon home, and Blue is walking around asking, hey, have you seen my history packet? And his mom says, oh, it's in the office. Blue goes into the office looking around for his assignment and sees the letter from the school of his acceptance. He asks, hey, Dad, what is this? Have I been accepted into some school? And it seems pretty neat. They say it's learning and development. What's that all about? And Ralph Angel and Darla give a look to each other as it's time to discuss this together as a family. They both go on to explain that this school is not some summer camp. You would actually have to be gone for months at a time and stay with your grandmother. Charley is awakened by rigorous banging, and she jokes and says, I had a dream that I had a banging headache. Come to find out, I see you banging on the window. He explains that he had to break it in order to get into the home because she wasn't answering her phone. But he tells her not to worry, we'll get it squared away, but I just didn't want this open. He tells her, you're always looking good and on the up and up, and you even were when you were sick. And she can't believe that, wow, was I that bad? The fact that I wasn't answering my phone and you had to break in? He tells her, yeah, and you know what? Later on, I'll get some groceries so you can have it for later and I can fix dinner. Charley is in shock that Davis is putting in that much energy to take care of her. Vi wants to know how Hollywood feels about his new specs. And he says, well, I feel old, but it's working. If I tells him, what makes you feel old is not being able to see. Have you seen my phone? He's like, yeah, your phone is around here somewhere underneath all these papers. I really want to get this together to make the announcement about the real spot, but how do I know if people will adhere to it? She tells him to relax. All you can do is your best. And if people are going to come, they're going to come. But it's needed, so don't feel bad about it. She grabs her phone, but Hollywood wants to know, Vi, who are you calling? She tells him, look, I'm just checking up on somebody. And he says, Vi, who are you calling? She tells him, well, you know what? I wanted to speak with Nova to see if she can check with Ralph Angel and all this school business. But Hollywood thinks that she should reach out to Ralph herself and talk to him directly. Whether you're going through somebody or not, you're still meddling in other people's business. Nova and Ralph Angel get a chance to have a little chit chat. She says, wow, Calvin, he pulled out this old treadmill that I had in another room, and I really needed it because, I really packed on some quarantine pounds. She's honest and says, I don't know if I'm supposed to know this or not, but Blue getting into that school, those schools pull him away from our great areas and our great schools. Ralph says, you know what? You went to one of those schools, right? One of those prestigious private ones. And she admits that, I didn't know back then. I learned as I got older that just because it's white don't make it right. Blue is going to excel no matter where he goes. That's the trouble I have with a lot of these schools. They pick out our good ones in order to meet their quotas. And he can just stay somewhere where he can develop his pride without knowing that he's some minority. You and Darla made a good decision. Ralph says, thank you. I appreciate that. It's just a thought, thinking about it, but I appreciate your input. Vi calls Ralph with some vigor to say, I'm glad that you all came to your senses about Blue staying at home. I had to light into his grandmother. Ralph Angel is surprised and saying, wow, information really travels fast in this family. Hollywood listens on with disappointment because Vi continues to pry in other people's business. Ralph continues to say, yeah, we're talking about it at this time and we're going to think things thoroughly through. And Hollywood jumps in and says, yeah, that's right. You and Darla take your time so you can think things through. Vi thinks that that's a problem, that black people just seem to want everybody else's approval when we can just stay at home. Our best and brightest can stay right here. As a matter of fact, I bumped into Patty Mae, and she was a little upset at first because 4 years ago she didn't get into Louisiana State. But now she's in this management training program at some grocery store, and she's an essential worker, and she's doing just fine. Hollywood says, well, that's her, but she ain't Blue. Vi tries to ignore Hollywood and says, look, no one ever puts CEO on the headstone. Blue needs to have love and a good life, and he can just have all of that right here in St. Joe. Ralph's laughs turn into looks of concern and now frustration. Charley enjoys some daytime television game shows while getting some good guesses. Davis walks in with a little lunch and she says, I'm pretty exhausted with the chicken broth. Maybe we can try something different, like a sandwich? Davis is happy because her wanting solids is a good sign that she's getting better. Davis starts to play along with the game show and gets a lot of questions correct. And Charley says, if your fans only knew that you were this amazing history scholar. And he tells her, it was your strategy as a publicist that you didn't want people to know that I was this scholar. But she explains that image is everything, and fans are more adherent to people who are more relatable. And you being this brainiac would maybe have people look at you differently. He offers to cook later, tonight, and tomorrow. Charley looks concerned, but she's really appreciative. He tells her that I learned how to cook and stay healthy while I was out on the road. You taught me that. I can't stay lean and trim and on my top game eating takeout all the time. Charley says, I'll help you with dinner if you don't mind. And they seemed excited to just spend more time together. Calvin updates Nova that due to the pandemic, the restrictions are prolonged and their screening process is very strict. He lets her know that he may be out on his security job a little longer, but wants to let her know why. Nova shares that her previous article will take a brief pause because she wants to do more research about an article that was sent to her. Micah calls Ralph Angel to catch up, and he wants to know how's the family and how's everything been going. He tells him fine, but wants to know how were you and your mom. He lets him know that my mom is supportive, but I know she was worried about me coming to Minneapolis, but I felt like I had to do something. But now, lately, I feel like what I'm doing isn't enough. Like, I don't feel like I'm making a change. Ralph tells him not to beat himself up, and he's doing the best that he can. Micah says, man, I really miss Blue. I miss you guys. But I would always joke with my mom that if I ever had a son, I would think he would be like Blue. Ralph tells him, speaking of Blue, he got into this school. Sidwell something. Micah says, Sidwell Friends School? That's one of the best schools in the country, man. The Obama girls went there. And Blue got in? Wow, that's huge. They don't even let kids apply anymore. He says, yeah, but Darla's mom sent an application, IQ scores, all that stuff, and he got in. Darla's not that into it, but Micah says, why? That school could open doors for him. Now, they have their cons, but it's a wonderful opportunity. Ralph says, well, look at your situation. You have all of the ritzy schools on your resume, but you turned that down and you went to a HBCU. Micah says, yeah, I did. But, I had elites on my resume. The best part is that I was able to choose. My parents were kind of set back by my decision, but the great thing of it all is that I was able to choose. And I'm happy, and that makes my parents happy. So maybe you should look into it a little deeper. Ralph says, yeah, you do have a point. Ralph Angel surprises Blue with a Black Panther action figure. And Blue is super excited and saying, man, I wanted this so bad when it came out. But you know what? I'm going to leave this in the box. Kind of like a collector's item. And Ralph says, a collector's item? What, you don't play with toys anymore? What about Kenya? You don't play with her? And Blue says, toys are for little kids, Dad. I'm a big kid. Get with it, Pops. Ralph says, okay, well, let me know something then. Blue displays the action figure and says, yeah, that's a good place for a king. It's just so hard to believe that he's gone. But Ralph lets him know that he may have passed on, but his spirit is always going to be with us. So don't feel bad about it. They both do the Wakanda X salute, and they admire the action figure. Nova tells Miss Baptiste, it's not every day I get to sit and talk with a journalistic trailblazer. But Miss Baptiste says an invisible trailblazer. It's like that paper couldn't wait for me to retire and forget about the work I did or tried to do. Nova says, I never depended on higher institutions to give me the information that I needed. I wanted to do that for myself. And I honored those who ran the race before me, before I decided to pick up the baton, so thank you. Miss Baptiste says, no, thank you. I crossed to reference the dates you gave me. Wow, over 20 years. It flew by. Andre Nixon. I guess I was haunted by the kid. He was so promising. This amazing sophomore in college, bright. I looked for my field notes and found that almost everything checked out. But Nova doesn't understand what she means by almost everything. She goes on to explain that he was from the 9th, and his injuries felt like the MO of the good old boys who worked the beat at that time. They had patterns, certain areas where they would inflict pain on the bodies, difficult to trace back. Kid and his family never talked. They were too scared. They claimed that he just fell down some stairs. It never did add up. I'll send you the notes and maybe it will help you. Maybe it's what you're looking for. After the call, Nova is just shocked by everything that she's hearing. Davis just raves about Micah. And did you hear everything that he said? Man, I can't believe that they're playing his words on television over and over again. He's just so eloquent. We've raised a good son. Charley says, that window of time where you can demand that your child do everything the way you want them to is just very small. They don't tell you about the years where your permission isn't needed. That's the tough part. He says, yeah, I would have stopped him from going. That's just me if he would have said that. But we live and we learn. All we can do is just guide the way and help him the best that we can. And there's this relaxed vibe between Charley and Davis as they just talk about parenthood and prep dinner. Ralph Angel overhears Blue talking to his friend, and the friend says, yeah, I was thinking about being a firefighter, doctor, or a lawyer, but I don't know yet. And Blue says, yeah, I thought about being a farmer like my pops. That sounds great, right? Ralph walks in as Darla reviews different paint swatches, and she's trying so hard to decide what's best for the bedroom. But it's obvious that Ralph wants to talk about something else. It says, Darla, you and I need to talk. It's about Blue. Later, Blue is excited to share some information about media showers and about how they can't wait to see the anticipated media shower. Blue says, I even had a crazy dream last night that I was an astronaut, then an explorer, and then the President of the United States. Ralph says, I overheard you talking to your friend Marcus about what you wanted to be when you grew up. And you said a farmer. Is that true? You say, yeah, farmers help people. They help people all around the world. I was like, yeah, that's true, but have you ever thought about being something else? It's totally fine if you want to be a farmer. I'm not knocking it, but what other ideas do you have? Blue says, Papa was a farmer, you're a farmer, and I can be a farmer. Ralph says, yeah, we need more black farmers, no doubt about that. But don't be afraid to share if you want to be something else. You know what, Blue? Sometimes I even think about that Sidwell school. Blue's like, yeah, me too sometimes. I think about how we would be learning new things and meeting all these people from around the world. I mean, they're going to train people to be leaders. Darla says, would you want to go to that school? I mean, even if it means leaving us sometimes? Ralph Angel says, yeah, I mean, you'd be able to come back. Weekends, holidays. Blue says with a little resistance but excitement, yes. Darla tries to wipe away her tears to where he can't see, but says, you know what, that's beautiful, Blue. That's beautiful. Ralph looks into the field and holds back tears, but he holds them back no longer because they fall. And you can tell that he's thinking about letting his son go just to give him the possibilities. They all begin to shed bittersweet tears, and they embrace one another as a family. Charley gets a text message from Rob about a family meeting they must have. And she tells Davis, I'm going to have to respond or they'll know something's up. And Davis says, remember when I was sick and I needed that surgery and you told me that I was going to run myself into the ground? It's like, yeah. I mean, we live in a world that, everyone thinks it's your fault when you get sick. I mean, especially women. Davis says, I see your point, but I disagree. It's your time. Reset. Get what you need to rest. I mean, you rush yourself into a halt. You remember that? That's what you told me. She tells him, I always had a high threshold for pain. And he wants to know, you're tough, but everybody needs a moment to reset. And I think you should start something new, just for you. Nova returns home after a nice jog and gets a text message from Ralph Angel about an important family meeting tonight. She accidentally knocks over a picture of her and Calvin, but doesn't have time to pick it up because she gets a call from a nervous voice over the phone, which turns out to be Andre Nixon. She grabs a pen and says, "Thank you for calling. Let me get your information." The family gathers later for their virtual meeting, and Ralph Angel says, "We have a very important announcement to make." And Hollywood says, "Hey, well, I'm a very great babysitter. I'm just letting you know." They laugh, and Darla says, "That's great to learn, but that's not our announcement. As a matter of fact, we think it'd be better if you hear from Blue." Blue comes into the room and says, "Hey, everybody, it's so good to see you. I got into this really cool school in Washington, D.C., and I mean, it's really cool, and Mom and Pop said I can go." Everybody's super excited. Nova, Micah, and Charley expressed their congratulations, and they say that they're super excited for him. Hollywood says, "Good job, Blue. I mean, good luck out there. Man, number 45 better watch out." Lastly, Vi says, "Congratulations, baby. I'm surprised, but yeah." There's a brief pause, but Blue says, "Yeah, I'm sad a little too, but we can," and as he's speaking, Vi angrily texts Ralph Angel a text message that says, "We need to talk about all of this." Blue goes on to say, "Now who's gonna throw me a party?" Everybody laughs, and Ralph Angel gets a text from Vi. He reads it. You can tell he's very angry, but he tries to hold his composure in front of everybody else. Later on that evening, Vi calls Ralph very upset. "Ralph Angel, you are not your father's son. How dare you put the weight of the world on that boy?" Ralph says, "I'm doing what's best for what my family wants." Vi says, "You're about to screw up your son's life. Do you want that on your conscience? He's been through enough of you and Darla's mess." Ralph says, "All due respect, I don't have to answer to you, Vi. Not you, not Nova, not Charley. The only person I have to answer to is myself. Is that all? Because I'm really trying hard not to hang up on you. I'm really trying. Vi says, go ahead. You can't break my heart more than you've already done. You know darn well that boy is as much mine as he is yours. How dare you take him away from me? Ralph says, that's not your son, Aunt Vi. You're not even a parent. That's the problem. Please don't disrespect me. I'm trying so hard not to hang up on you. What you say matters, and your input is very important. But you don't have the final say-so on this. You don't have the final word. I'm happy and thankful for everything that you've done for us, for Blue. But it's our decision. That's not your son. Vi holds back strong tears and says, you're a shame, and your father would agree. He would be ashamed of you. You're nothing but a boy yourself. Davis packs up all of his things to go home, and Charley tells him that she's very thankful for all of his help and that he had to drop everything to get to her to make sure that she was okay. He wants her to know that you don't have to think about me dropping everything. There's no interruption when it comes to you, Charley. I mean, it's not something that's good of me to help. I'll always be here to help, and don't be afraid to reach out, okay? Charley says okay, but he wants her to promise that if she ever needs him in the future, he's there. They say their goodbyes, and when he leaves, we can see that Charley misses his presence by the look on her face. Nova meets with Andre and views the file to make sure that she has the right person. His injuries and appearance differ from what the college photo displays. He says hello and makes it known that he's a devoted fan of True Papers. He's subscribed and he even bought her book. He's honored that she wants to talk to him. And he says, well, you're here to talk about my case, right? And Nova says, oh yeah, we're here to talk about your case, of course. The best of your ability, please. Tell me what happened that night. He goes on to explain that I was this young kid trying to balance college life and also still be down. So one day, some of my friends, we decided to do a little dirt. And we lifted these rims from a car and tried to sell it, but we ended up getting caught. I mean, I begged the police not to take me in. I even told them I had a scholarship and that I would never, ever do something like this again. All the cop did was look at me and say, I bet you won't. Then they all took us to this dark alley and they took turns beating us up one by one. And for some reason, I got the run of it. This last guy, though, he hit me. And he hit me so hard. And literally, that last hit, that's the one that broke my back. Nova sheds a tear listening to this terrifying story. Nova says, I'm so sorry this happened to you. It's evil. Did you ever get any information, badge numbers, faces, anything that can help us? And Andre says, I'm confused. I mean, I could never forget who did this. I could never forget the face. I mean, you thanked him in your book. I thought that's why you were here. Calvin Gaston? The new guy. The last one. He's the one that did this to me. And Nova's face is frozen in shock. And her body trembles with fear. And that is the end of the episode. Another amazing episode. Amazing writing and amazing cinematography. We only have one more episode left before the end of the season. Wow, you guys, right? It just seemed like it flew by. It was just so ingested and so saturated with so much information that it just flew by. So I appreciate you guys rocking with me almost to the end of the season. That picture of Nova and Calvin breaking was some amazing foreshadowing, wasn't it? The fact that it shattered right before she got the call from Andre. Absolutely amazing writing. And it just clicked in my head with like, oh, that's just eerie to think about, right? Because Nova, she gets in touch with her ideas and feelings about the spirit world and connection and speaking with the ancestors and lighting candles and incense and meditation. So it's not a surprise that something like that would happen, right? Maybe that energy just knocked it down because she was trying to get to the other side and maybe go into the kitchen. She bumped into it and fell. And also the symbolism of her not rushing to the ground to fix it, but her turning her direction to answer the call and to move on to something else, something of more importance. So I'm just excited to see how they're going to wrap all of this up. But what a downer, right? To find out that something so horrific is connected with the person that you're so in love with, the person that you're transitioning with, the person that you've gone through ups and downs, met the family, met the kids. Like that's just something that just blew her away as a character. But at the same time, even when he expressed that story to her, and I think it was the last episode or 2 episodes before, he did say and talk about that story to her. Remember when it was just Courtney, Nova, and Calvin at the dinner table, and he was talking about that horrific event that they beat up a guy so bad that he ended up in the hospital. So he admitted to that. He told her the truth and that it was terrifying for him. And Nova saying that, well, it was more horrific for the kid. So he did admit to it. And the severity of it, the fact that he went on and lived his life knowing that he inflicted harm and caused somebody to be injured. And when it's proven that he did do it, he does deserve to have some punishment, and justice needs to be served, and he needs to be in jail. I mean, if you admitted to it, it's frustrating that she didn't have that on tape, right? I mean, my prediction is that hopefully she will get his confession again on tape and that he will talk about it. Because how ironic that she has this platform of social injustice and police brutality and all of these things that are happening with socio-economical issues, systemic and systematic racism. And it's like, wow, you have the wolf in sheep's clothing there with you the entire time. Sad, bittersweet, but at the same time, if you've committed that crime and you've inflicted harm and you've changed somebody else's life, you deserve to be behind bars without a doubt. As I mentioned in the last episode about the Borderlones, about Darla, Ralph Angel, and Blue, that it all comes to communicating with the child, what the child wants to do. An opportunity presented itself that actually had to sit down with Blue. He's smart enough. We're seeing that again when he says, I don't play with toys. I'll do this as a collector's item. So he's growing up very fast. He's not in that phase, and his intellect doesn't want him to play with toys anymore. And it's this kind of wake up call to Ralph Angel. I did say that Vi has a connection with Blue because that was the emotional and symbolic fill-in for the child that she lost when it came to being married to her abuser and her losing that child. So she has a connection with Blue that is on another level when it comes to Blue. It's not just seen as just another member of her family, but her child. And she did release that. How come you are taking him away from me? You know he's mine just as much as he is yours, which suggests that psychological connection that needs to be there. There needs to be that importance of letting it be known that that is their child. It was very sad to see that Vi used it as a weapon in saying that, you and Darla have put Blue through enough. Using that as something as a defense, when in actuality she has that in the back pocket to hurt him, which was very, very wrong. They had that moment, and Ralph Angel really trying to keep his composure, really telling her, with all respect, I'm trying not to hang up on you. I really like the fact that you were there. and your input, I'm not tossing that to a side. Your input is so important to me, but at the same time, you have to respect that I am his father, Darla is his mother, and we have the final say so, which is true. They saw how excited he was as a child to go to this school. He's surpassing everything in his class there, right, in St. Joe, and at times he was even bored during the pandemic because he went through all of the packets, the learning packets, and he needed something to do, even to the fact where it frustrated Darla because she couldn't think of anything else to keep him occupied. So much so that he wanted to get his IQ tested. As Micah said, and I love this dynamic because we have some family members that are saying, that's pressure, don't do that, he can stay at home, our best can stay here. But at the same time, Micah is the living example of they have their pros and their cons. All of the information is true. But at the same time, the way things are in society, they did give me this kind of buffet style way of choosing what I wanted to do. It made me happy. It made my parents happy. They may not agree with my decision, but it's the fact that I had the freedom to choose what I wanted to do, which was their purpose in the first place as parents, to give him opportunities and not just be boxed in. When Ralph heard with Vi, she was trying to convince him like a salesperson that such and such didn't go to this college, and now they're in training to be a manager at the grocery store and they're essential workers. You could see that Ralph Angel just didn't think that would be enough for Blue. And even Hollywood even chimed in and says, well, that's her, but that's not Blue. Kind of saying that these are two different people and you shouldn't just box these two different people in to have the same destination in life. He deserves to have his pick of what he wants to do. Him having the dreams of being an explorer and then an astronaut and then a president, Ralph Angel and Darla knew that he wants to learn more. He wants to do more. And with the loving family, I'm sure that if there's some issues, that there's some problems, that they can talk things out, all in the best for the child, which is most important, which I said in the last review. The child's opinion does matter. He is young, but hearing his input is very important because he was just excited and thought about, wow, the school and I get to meet new people. And as parents, they kind of gave that side to, we can't keep him in this in this box of things. We gotta give him that push into the world with possibilities. So they put that out there and they're gonna do it step by step and work things out as a family. When it comes to Charley and Davis, as I said several times, I'm still mad at Davis from the first season. I'm still upset. I'm just like, ugh. But when you think about it, when it comes to how you see the world and everything, if they just so happen to fall in love again and they want to work it out, guess what? That's them. As much as the viewer were like, this is the same guy who did those things that he did in those previous seasons. Why would somebody even think about being with somebody else? If there's a happiness that they're there and they're connecting again as parents and they love one another and something comes up, then that would be them. And it's such a downer that Charley was just like, I can't even tell my family I'm sick because then they're going to wonder why are you here? And it's showing that those decisions that she really wants to make and that she really wants to talk about, she's viewing it as, I got to hear all of this stuff from my family. Why are you over here? And why didn't I call them? It's just she already had that feeling that I could talk to them about some things, but not all things, because of course they're going to bring up, isn't it the same guy who cheated with you with all these people, got another woman pregnant in this lawsuit? They're going to bring all of that up, which they have every right to, because that's a legitimate argument. Why would you consider rekindling any flame with somebody who's caused you hurt in the past? But then again, we're all human. Nobody's perfect. And if they've grown and developed over the years, then why not? Of course, I'm the person on the sideline that's like, girl, don't do it again. Don't get with him. But it's been years since then. They've grown. And it hasn't been that long. I mean, if you do the timeline of the series, it hadn't been that long. But if it's what they want, who are we to stop them, right? Let me know what you thought about this episode. I think it's great. It's I'm sure that there were some ideas that they had for the season And it shifted due to the pandemic, because if you can look at the timeline of when film began and ended with production when it comes to the show, it was pretty darn close to when stages started to shut down, right? So as writers, I'm pretty sure they sat down. It's like, okay, how can we correlate this with the show? And the timing is so close that we're able to relate to these characters. And it was a kind of this emotional dust up of everything that we went through with 2020 and that we're still dealing with going into this year of 2021. So it's just like, wow, I wasn't the only one that was feeling this way. Wow, my family wasn't the only one that went through this or that went through that. So it was very relatable, and it helped to bring up emotions that maybe we had, that we thought that we dealt with, quote unquote, but we really didn't. It's something that was still lingering. So throughout this season, I definitely shed some tears, and it brought some sadness. And I was like, oh, I forgot I went through this. And oh, I forgot that we had, oh, yeah. But it's those things that we don't want to talk about, but it's something that's necessary. So I'm just really excited to see where some characters went, right? Because they've been away. So of course, that person is going to come back. I hope that Charley can rest and heal and take a moment for her, because she has been nonstop, literally since the age of 16, 17 years old. If you think about it, being in college with the child, trying to do it all, then get married and then doing that. I mean, she's literally like been nonstop. So hopefully we will see her evolve as a person. And it's a lot with St. Joe. It's a lot with the businesses. It's a lot that people are after her. The community, really isn't, starting to kind of pull away from her a little bit. So just let me know what you think. Leave your comments. Also, make sure to check out the links below of all of the other awesome shows that have been going on. Also, the final 6 episodes of Iyanla Fix My Life are airing. Make sure that you check out that playlist so you don't miss it all before it closes. Check out Ready to Love, the funny, hilarious, entertaining dating show. If you missed Bell Collective, that reality series, check that out, and so much more. So I'll put the links below. And also, I look forward to seeing you guys for the next season of The Handmaid's Tale. Amazing series. They won over 13 Emmys. It's an amazing show. It's vulgar, but it's very good if you are an adult, and it's not a family-friendly series. But of course, with my channel, I make sure to find different avenues and different ways to describe what happened in the season with it being family-friendly. So I water it down to the point to where if you want to watch these reviews as a family, then there wouldn't be anything vulgar. So let me know what you thought. Leave your comments below. Check out those links below. Start to look at these awesome shows. More productions, more sets are starting to open. More things that were recorded are being released on television. More movies are being released on virtual platforms. So make sure that you click that notification bell so you don't miss any posts of what's coming up next. Follow me on Instagram as well. And also make sure to like this video, you guys, because it takes a lot to edit. So in the meantime, take care of yourself and each other. Until next time, bye.